Hey everybody, Radaman here. Thanks for tuning in to the very first episode of a new series called Philosopher King. The rules of this series are pretty straightforward. My patrons voted that to showcase the RimWorld royalty DLC, I ought to be a benevolent ruler, which is considerably more difficult than being an evil one. The goals of the series is to gain favor with the royalty and leave on their royal shuttle. We also explicitly outlaw slavery, so we aren't going to give prisoners to the royals for favor, and we're not going to take quests that harm benevolent factions. We're going to try to treat every colonist with respect and decency, and treat the enemy combatants with care. Additionally, this series is a choose-your-own-adventure series. If you haven't been involved in one of those in the past, here's how they work. Every other week, my patrons are going to submit ideas for rules, goals, projects, stuff like that. And then a poll will be posted and everybody and anybody can vote in the polls. This will help change and shape the direction of this series, meaning that you can choose your own adventure. So, let me introduce you to the characters in this series. First off, we have Bubbaloo. Bubbaloo is an asexual wimp who is kind. He has a burning passion in social and medical, and a passion in art and intellectual. As you might imagine, he is our Philosopher King. If you're not familiar with the Philosopher King term, it was a concept that Plato, the philosopher, came up with, which is a ruler who possesses both a love of wisdom as well as intelligence, reliability, and a willingness to live a simple life. He speculated that these would be the best rulers. Those that actually didn't seek power should be put into power because they would not abuse it. Our next character would be Zero. Zero has a burning passion in crafting and construction, a passion in mining and shooting as well. Also happens to be slightly drunk and a brain trauma savant, meaning that he can't speak or hear, but he's very, very, very skilled with his hands. Yanshui is an undergrounder, gourmand, and kind. A burning passion in intellectual and cooking. Pretty good with plants and shooting as well. And then Mathis, shooting and farmhanding, as well as some melee and medical in there. So, taking a look at the map tile here, I guess I have to show you the world. The world is a crowded world. As you can see, there is a ton of opportunities for trade and the like. We are nestled right smack dab in the middle. The terrain allowing us about half of the year for harvest. And then, of course, we have a lot of the Empire of the Spirit, which is the Shattered Empire faction. Taking a look at the factions here, we've got the standard fare of factions. And then the map tile here doesn't have a lot of mountains. It's not very mountainous. It does have a road, an ancient road, running through the middle. And some ancient dangers, one up here and one pretty much right where I started. I wanted a nice open map tile to allow me the opportunities to expand the way I see fit. Taking a look at the terrain affordance, there is not a lot of impassable terrain here. And then, of course, the fertility, there's a lot of opportunities for pretty decent farming. I think I am going to settle right smack dab in the middle here, maybe a little bit closer to the rich soil so that I can get food coming quickly. So right at the start here, I'm going to give Mathis the armor and the guns. Yanshui is going to take a gun as well. Bubbaloo, you're going to take a knife, but I'm not going to really let you use it. And Zero, you're going to take the revolver. Let's go ahead and allow all. If you're curious about my mods for the series, I have none. There's literally no mods installed. It's just the DLC of RimWorld Royalty. This will be a vanilla-free series. I will not consider adding mods for that reason. So right at the start here, we want to get a basic shelter. One of the easy ways to do this, although a little bit of a dangerous way, is to use wood. Wood, obviously, in a temperate forest is going to be a widely available resource. So we are going to lay ourselves out an area that eventually will serve as maybe a kitchen. Maybe a little bit larger than that. But right next to some fertile territory, so that we are able to effectively plant crops. So here's my little starting hut. I'm going to add in some doors. And this is where we're going to basically build some startup. Let's change the work priorities. So here, speaking of my work priorities, I like to... really, anyone can be doctor. I like to change the work priorities right at the start so that there is no mistake about who I want doing what. So Yanshui here, I actually want you to cut the plants down here, making room for my walls. And one of the goals very, very early on will be to no longer be a wooden hut. Wood is just not a very good, building material because of its flammability. I'm also going to want 4 beds. And then a food source. So right when you start off, you just need to make sure that your basic necessities are being covered. Yanshui, once you're done with that, we will get a healthy amount of rice going. Rice is the quickest thing to grow in fertile soil. It's not the most work efficient. The most work efficient would be perhaps corn or something like that. But rice, if you're hungry at the start of the game, is definitely the way to feed yourself initially. Now, this entire building is eventually going to become a kitchen, or at least that is my desire. But for now, what I'm going to do is live in it and then convert it over to a kitchen in due time. We have a bunch of steelies around us that might be able to spruce up the joint. And I can claim these if I want to. Might as well go ahead and do that. And we're going to be hauling our food. So one thing that will be important to do is let's go ahead and put our food and meds, if I could spell that correctly, temporarily inside of the building here. Because we don't want it decaying outdoors, and we don't want the wild animals to eat it. So the pack of survival meals and the medicine are going to get put inside. Other important early game projects would be a table to eat upon. That way we don't build up the negative mood modifiers of 8 without a table. And now, as you can see, people are going far and wide to collect resources. So I'm going to have Yanshui focus a little bit more on cutting down some trees to finish off this starting shack. Now, the eventual goal is to have a glorious and beautiful castle. But that takes some time. That does not happen, of course, overnight. Okay, 0. Yeah, let's definitely get the table constructed so that we can start eating comfortably. And change the priority of this food and meds to preferred so that people start hauling the medicine where it belongs. Everybody is having a little bit of a rest. One other really important thing for me to do is to get beds for everybody before nighttime. So Yanshui, I'm going to have to cut your stargazing short, or your cloud watching short. Nobody wants to sleep on the floor the first night. Now, the temperature is pretty temperate, so we could definitely sleep without a heater or cooler, which makes it a little bit easier for sure. Now, we're going to need some additional wood. Let's cut down this tree. All right, 0. Let's get... Nope, still not enough. Cut down yet one more. So now our precious resources are protected. The food, the meals, they're protected from wild animals, so that the wild animals can't go ahead and steal our stuff. It's becoming pretty late in the day, so I suspect that people are going to go for their first night in just a moment here. So looking around, I would say, given that I am on a tile that affords me a lot of marble, it would be a smart idea to build my castle out of marble. That would be the most beautiful, for sure. So I'm just going to move those meals up. Where's everybody else going? They are hauling the materials. Now, we did do a crash landed start, so there will be some ship chunks around. It would be wise to gather up their materials, if I could find them quickly, because there is precious components and a little bit of steel as well in the ship chunks. I'm not going to build anything out of steel if I can help it. I don't think this map tile has a whole lot of steel, so I have to cherish it as it is a rarer and more precious resource. And instead, oh, Yanshui, you weren't supposed to sleep out there. I built a 5th bed in case we had injuries, but it wasn't really designed to be used outdoors. So let's get a research bench up, and then additionally, we are going to want a stone cutter. A stone cutter will allow us to start carving marble and expanding the floor or footprint of our base to accommodate for more space, because right now we are fairly cramped. On top of that, the components that are out there probably ought to be pulled inside, as they do decay, whereas the silver and the steel does not. Now, you don't want to store silver outdoors for too long, because would-be raiders and attackers will try to steal your stuff if given the opportunity. So here's my stone cutting table, and it looks like we've got a lot of marble around us, so I'm just going to say make marble forever, and I'm going to put Mathis on that. So I'm going to prioritize the stone cutting for Mathis, and here he is. Now you can see him stone cutting, and then when we make the bill, I want to drop it on the floor just to speed up progress. Now it seems a little strange, I'm sure, that I've got this very fine base, and I initially made it all of wood, but for the first night, is not a very realistic goal to have everything be stone cut. So Yanshui is going to be, she is a better researcher than Bubbaloo, but she has the ability to cut plants efficiently, so I'm going to require her to do that. I'm going to have to secure myself a food source. I'm also going to need a little recreation variety as well. So let's build a copy here. I'm actually going to move this torch. Put a little basic chest table and some horseshoe pin out here. Everything is out of wood, just because it is the most renewable resource until we have a lot of stone. Now, other things I'm going to want in excess is cloth. So let me get a rather sizable cloth swath. Going on. Alright, most perfect. So the next thing, now that we're building up some marble tiles, yes, it is an ancient danger. I guess we were hauling steel past it. I'm not all that worried. Let's break down these steelies for the contain a whole lot of marble that will upstart. And I'm going to start replacing all the floors in this building with marble so that A, they're more beautiful, and B, they're less flammable. Now we do have a little bit of unhappy nudity. Our very kind Bubbaloo doesn't have pants. So another thing I might be able to do is a simple hand tailor bench. I do have access to electricity. I just haven't utilized it yet. It's not the most terrible idea to go ahead and build, especially right over farmland. So let me put that back. But because we're having all these crops here, there's a pretty good opportunity to use where the crops will deny trees to grow. But initially, I think what I'll do is a wood-fired generator instead. So Zero is flooring up our little starter cabin here. And let's go actually crank out this real quick. So, the hand tailor bench, we are going to want pants. I think Bubbaloo is probably missing pants. Yes, he is indeed missing pants. And we are not going to have a whole lot of leathers or cloths for those pants until we have a butcher table. So, next morning, we're also going to get ourselves a butcher table. And this will secure ourselves a source of food as well. So the first research I want to queue for is probably psychoid brewing. Or maybe, yeah, I'm going to do psychoid brewing. I really love my psychite tea. It helps to keep everybody nice and stable mood-wise, while not being too addictive, which is important. Now, I do have a few days left of food. I'm not going to worry about securing a food source just yet. I'm going to slowly convert this building that I live in over to marble. And leave it room to expand because it's a rather small kitchen if I'm going to go full royal. So we have a sizable farm of cotton here. Bubbaloo is now researching. Now, one of the issues with research here is that we are going to be limited to the speed of our research depending on how clean the rim is. So I am also going to change the home zones here. I don't actually really like the auto home zoning, so I'm going to turn that off. And I'm going to keep the home zone nice and tight so that we don't clean up huge swaths of the outdoors. This will help to limit the amount of cleaning that Bubbaloo needs to do. So Mathis is going to continually stone cut for us, and Zero is going to replace the walls bit by bit with marble. Yes, it is a little strange that I very temporarily made it wood, but having a roof over your head for the first night or two is very handy. Now, it's getting a little late in the day, so I want to make sure that the walls I just decimated become marble before anyone falls asleep. So I'm going to have Mathis. I'm going to prioritize some construction with him. Well, looks like we got a whole lot more done than I thought we would. Let's get these constructed quickly. Our trauma savant able to do that with ease. So the first pair of pants I want, let's see what local creatures we might hunt. There's some deer. That's a pretty easy target, not likely to backfire on us. Now, if you take a look at the animals, the wildlife, you do have a revenge on harm chance. Now, for the butcher, we want to butcher creatures. And Yanshui, I'm going to have you go butcher that deer. We're going to have to designate a zone for this. This dump zone here is going to be preferred. It's not going to allow rotten creatures, but it will allow for all animal corpses that are not insects. And that way, when our hunter is done, they'll bring the corpses there automatically. Now this gives us a little bit of plain leather. We're going to need one more deer at least to be able to craft up some pants. And then 0, our little pariah, will be the pants crafter. We have a solar flare, but again, we haven't actually entered the electrical age yet. I plan on it pretty soon. So the next building I want to set up here is the start to get some bedrooms. Bedrooms are really nice to always have. So I'm going to move this. I guess what I want is another ancient danger. Yes, I kind of knew that was an ancient danger. Another thing that would be nice would be to set up a stock room. That way this stuff doesn't decay. So we have the first quest available, the Jittery Countess. This countess is requiring our help. She is going to bestow us royal favor, including a psychic amplifier. And she is being chased by just one chicken. So I'm going to accept this quest with Babaloo. Babaloo is then going to gain royal favor once this quest is done. The first quest that you're offered, the first royal quest, is actually very straightforward. So this person here is not actually part of her faction for very long. As you can see, the symbol here denotes that. She is here temporarily for me to offer her refuge. She happens to be... what rank does she have? She is a countess, which is a relatively high rank. That's about as high as you can get as a player. And she needs us to protect her. So I'm going to have maybe Yanshui or 0, who are currently freed, to hunt down the chicken that is manhunting her. She's probably able to deal with it herself, given all of her psychic powers, but, you know, we'll lend a hand. She asked us to. Alright, so her shuttle has arrived. Her shuttle is where she will load in to leave. So here it is. I'm going to tell her to get in the shuttle. And once she shuttles out, we have completed the quest and satisfied Rush Theomet, meaning that we will gain favor. So here she goes. Farewell, Rush Theomet. Then I tell this to send. And as you can see, I've got some title rewards, the quest is complete, and I've gone from being a nobody to a human. Babaloo, now a human. So I'm going to install this psychic amplifier in Babaloo, and this grants him the ability to stun. This is a psychic ability. He has a psychic pool of 30. He's not a particularly strong psychic, but a psychic pool of 30. And if anyone gets close to him, I'm able to stun them to send them away, which is a great ability to have. So the next building I want to lay out here is going to be my recreation room. I'm going to make it nice and roomy, and then I'm also going to add a little bit more room to the kitchen. Actually, let's make a relatively nice recreation room here. So this is going to be a lot of work, but it's going to be worth it in the end. And then inside my internal doors, I want the door between the recreation room and my kitchen to be somewhat of an airlock. but maybe better than that. Let me relay that out. I'm going to have it be an airlock right in the middle here. And that way it keeps our kitchen colder. Now, I don't want to double insulate. I feel like double insulating on this map tile is a little excessive. It's not a particularly hot map tile. Alright, Yan Shui is now butchering up these deer. This will allow us to make the pants that we require. Zero, let's get you to do that real quick for Bubbaloo. And then other things we'll want to do is to make sure that we start to freeze what will end up being the freezer. So this room initially will be sort of the common room, a room used for just about everything. But eventually I'm going to want it to be specifically just for recreation. Alright, so we've got the pants, and I'm going to have Bubbaloo put those on so the nudity goes away. Zero is working quite hard. Now, for all of the meat that we've got, we are going to want... What I'm going to do is forbid the floors. I want to get the walls up first to cause it to be an indoor room, and then we'll get the floors afterwards. Now, all this meat is going to spoil, but I'm hoping to get freezing done before the meat spoils. Mathis, I'm going to set you to construct over craft. I have a fair bit of marble, so I think I can spare the stone cutting for a bit. And then Yan Shui, you will also be set to construct as a low priority as well. Now, I don't have any power, so these air conditioning units aren't going to do anything until I have power, but at least it will cause this to be an inside room for now. And we have many hands working in unison trying to get a roof over our heads. Now, I do have the Accept Royal Favor clicked on, so I suspect I'll be given more opportunities to prove myself worthy to the royals soon. At least that is my hope. Now that I have most of the room that I want laid out, I'm going to start moving the furniture from the will-be kitchen into the will-be recreation room. And then dedicating this area to be actually a kitchen. Which also means that I need to invest in a little bit of my own power grid. So I am going to, and this is probably going to be a temporary structure. I'm going to temporarily put a wood fire generator. I'm going to put it up here. Now we do have manhunter donkeys. Ooh, interesting. That are coming in. There is 2 of them. Let's tag them for hunting. Another thing that will really help to construct the inside here is some light to work by. So Zero, I'm going to have you work on the torch lamps first. So donkeys, how fast do donkeys move? They move at 5.3, so that's a little dangerous because that is more quick than Mathis is going to be able to run. Mathis runs at 4.36. Meaning that he's not going to be able to outrun the donkeys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rally everybody. I'm going to take this man-hunting serious. And then this also allows me to demonstrate the ability of Bubbaloo to stun. Any possible enemy that does not have Psychic Doll as a trait can be stunned by Bubbaloo. Now, Bubbaloo can't stun right now because his Psychic Entropy is high enough that using the stun would be unsafe, but we've hit the donkey. He is dead. copying these settings, and I am now going to set up a full-time butchery. And then this is going to soon become a kitchen. Let me leave these doors open for the time being. Zero, you're going to go back to constructing the torch lamps. Almost immediately, we're going to graduate away from torch lamps to standing lamps because it looks like Yanshui just got the wood fire generator up and running. So for the wood fire generator, I would like to run power out to the AC units, and then actually run power along the along the perimeter of the building. All right, and let's put in a light and allow the construction of all the floors and everything else. So, here we are. Yanshui thinks we should give our faction a name. Our faction is going to be called the Philosopher King. And then this is the... We'll just call this Settlement Plato. So I'm running a little low on the marble. So I'm going to send Mathis out to go cut some. Looks like we have a little bit of pile of it from the broken down steles. Or steles. So we're not that low, but it's not to say that we should ignore it. We've got about 18 hours left on the meat here. So it would be really wise, unless I want to go hunt some more, which isn't the worst thing, to get our freezer freezing. On top of that, let's move the beds out so they're not sleeping in the cold. We'll just line them up like this, and I'm going to have Mathis go ahead and drag this stuff out of here. Now, the only other problem is if we're going to be working at this stonecutter table, I'm going to want a door near it. So that we can have easy access and not have to go through our kitchen every time. Because that will also make it so that our freezer will cool down. So I'm going to set these freezers to frozen temperatures. Oops, too low. There we are. And it will start to cool down. Bubbaloo, let's move the... Here we are. And now we are going to... I'll just put this stool here. I don't really know what to do with it at the moment. Oh, for the wood cutter. Or the stone cutter. So next up, we are going to want a electric stove. I'm going to place a stove nested in like there. Run some cables to it. And what I want is some stockpiles of food near the stove. And I'll label these all in a sec. So these will be meals. And this is perishable meals, right? So I'm going to do it preferred. Set this up for all meals except for survivals. And then here, we'll call this meats. This is going to be raw food of meat, which is not human or insect, because I'm not eating humans or insects. Then this is veggies. This is a little bit easier. It's just going to be a preferred zone of raw food of vegetarian. And then this here is going to be... or actually, it's not tea, it's the leaves. And this zone will be preferred, and it will be the raw resource, plant matter, psychoid leaves. Now, the rest of this zone here is just going to be the kitchen zone. And this means really anything food-related, or plant matter-related, or herbal meds, or ambrosia, that ought to be indoors. And I'm going to put this preferred as well. Actually, everything else is going to go to important. All right, looks like I have 12 hours. Some of that stuff is going to spoil. It's not that big of a deal. There's plenty of animals out here. I just don't want to be wasteful if I can help it. So now this freezer is nice and frozen temperatures, as well as the butchery. It also would help if I removed the torches, which generate a little bit of heat, and replace them with lights, which do not. So this general stockpile, I'm just going to call it stockpile, because I'm not that creative. This will be a normal stockpile with everything. And then this one is going to be stone and steel. So this is going to be a preferred stone and steel stockpile, because stone and steel isn't really worth anybody's time to steal for theft. And it also doesn't decay. I'm also going to leave wood out here because I don't really mind if wood slowly deteriorates. That's not that big of a deal. All right, temporarily, I'm going to increase everybody's hull to 1. And that's in hopes of getting some of the meat indoors before it all spoils. Looks like they're all doing it. They're moving everything that needs to be moved where it needs to be moved. I still have about, after this electric stove turns on, I'm still going to have about 200 watts left on the wood-fire generator. And if I need to make more wood-fire generators, that's really not that much of a problem, as they're really not that expensive. All right, Bubbaloo, or actually Mathis, construct these last 2 cables. So now our electric stove is usable. I'm going to queue up bulk meals here. I'm going to do until we have, let's say, 20 fine meals, or actually 17 fine meals. And then I'm going to make sure that this is using everything, right? And then for simple meals, I'm going to do some backup simple meals in case I don't have the vegetables, for instance, to do fine meals. And I'm going to do backup simple meals up to 3. And these are not going to use vegetarian or animal products, which, you know. So this stockpile here should not include chunks or corpses. I guess this was the wrong kind of stockpile. This was a dumping. So we'll move these out to this dumping zone. And I can leave this door open because that door does not offer any of the would-be creatures the ability to get to our meals, because our meals are all stored in here. So, first things first, food restrictions. I'm going to delete all the other food restrictions that exist in the game and call these simple and fine meals. And, as you can imagine, I'm just going to enable simple and fine meals, leaving the packaged survival meals, of which I basically have none left. But any future packaged survival meals that I get will not be used for consumption. That way we can save them for travel. So I've annexed another little bit of a zone here. We do have some rotting away because of the constant entering and exiting of this room. So I'm going to forbid the... I don't think I really need to forbid. I might just need to crank up the... add another cooler or something. Because this is a rather sizable area for the coolers to cool. Which means 2 things. 1, I'm going to want another heater, or another wood-fire generator. And 2, another cooler. So Psycho Brewing just finished. At this point, let me think. I would want beer brewing. I'm going to, this being as benevolent as I am, I want people to have a good time in our colony. I want them to be comfortable, and that includes all the creature comforts of like, you know, having access to tea and beer. So if I have the tea researched, the next big thing I'm going to want to add is psychoid leaf crops. I'm using the fertile soil as much as I can, avoiding everywhere else. So this is going to be the psychoid leaves, and then this swath is going to be the hops. It also would be wise to grow a little heel root, and I'll get that up in just a second. I don't know how much of the growing season I have left, but I do know that heel root does survive the cold temperatures of winter. Somewhat impressive barracks. So another good thing to do would be to try to create individual bedrooms so that people can remain comfortable. It's going to be another to-do on my to-do list. And then possibly get another research bench so that my speed of research increases. Batteries would also be a pretty good idea, but as long as I have wood-fired generators are very reliable sources of power that don't immediately require batteries. Okay, if you're gonna break things down one at a time, let me queue them all up. There we are. Now, the kitchen stockpile can be huge, which is great. It allows us storage of excess of foods. Yanshui is working on some fine meals for all of us. And just for looks, I'm going to put a nice pillar in the middle of the kitchen here. It doesn't require it, but I like the way it looks. So Mathis is working on these stones for us. Another useful stone would be granite, because granite's a very tough stone. So taking a look around, there is some marble out here that I can order people to haul closer in this stockpile to enable the stone cutting to be a little bit faster, and I'll go ahead and do that. I do have a rat in my bedroom. We can get that pretty quick. These guys just keep coming in. All right, that's fine. So, Zero, you need work. It looks like you are currently idle. I'm going to have you break down some of the ruins that are local around. And then, additionally, I want to install some of these vases. I'm going to put them, for beauty's sake, around my kitchen table. A little beautifying project. So Zero, other works that you could be doing, you could be smithing and tailoring. Getting a electric tailor bench would be a very fine way of doing that quickly. So let me get one of those built, and then you can work on dusters and hats for us. Oops, I did not mean to delete there. Let me put that back. Another thing that would be wise is to attempt to have higher quality beds, because beds, the higher quality bed that you have, the quicker it will be for you to recover sleeping, meaning that you spend less time asleep and you spend more time productive. There is some implants and mods included in the Royalty DLC that aid in that. Alright, so now that we have this up, what I want to do is make 4 dusters, one for everybody. It's likely to be made of plain leather, and that's fine. It also means that I ought to hunt. I'm going to hunt some muffalo for blue fur. Actually, you know what? I'm going to hunt for plain leather at the moment. So that would be bucks and does. And that will send Mathis out. But guys, that's about all the time I have. So I hope you enjoyed this first episode, the very humble start to the Philosopher King. Next episode, I suspect I'm going to be offered a lot more quests. I'm going to aim to get some more bedrooms and things like that. I hope you enjoyed. If there's any way that you think I can improve this series, just please let me know in the comments below, or hop on Discord and we can discuss it. If there's goals that you'd like to see, and you're a patron of mine, I'm going to open up a channel for you to submit your ideas for the bi-weekly Choose Your Own Adventure polls. The first poll is going to open up in about 2 weeks' time. Thank you all for watching. I'll catch you all next time. Adios, friends.